character, especially an iconic one at that, came to be. Because more often than not, a lot of them start out pretty different than how we remember them. Can you believe that it's been a full decade since Phineas and Ferb ended? Technically. I mean, I know this year technically started, but generally happens, okay? It's not completely false. Not only that, but it's also worth mentioning that I don't know if it's just me, but this show doesn't really get talked about a lot. Maybe that's a testament to how affectionate, how perfect it is. Not really. A very formulaic plot of two young boys building an insanely impossible machine or gizmo that can usually help them out or just result in a very hell of an entertaining story in the end. Kind of like Jimmy Neutron, but if Jimmy Neutron had a brother, they were both smart. And no, okay, bad example, but I don't know. This show doesn't get talked about a lot, despite the fact that it still airs on and on with new specials, which is a really admirable thing for any show. It shows the care that the creators have for the series. Unlike some that would definitely sell out, especially with the time it's been since it last even aired. But along with that came a very funny and wholesome origin story. Dan Povenmire originally worked on Family Guy, and you may have even noticed his name appear on the title credit scenes for some episodes. So he was well versed in the animation industry even back then. However, his first design for the main characters, Phineas and Ferb, more particularly Phineas, was done on a piece of restaurant tissue paper. According to Dan Povenmire, he said that the ketchup splat gave him an idea for a haircut, and that's how he came up with Phineas. The rest is history. That same napkin piece is hung on the fucking wall at their studio. That's admirable and believable at that. Who'd have thought Phineas, Dorito head, pretty iconic cartoon character, considering he is the main character, came from a piece of a napkin. Well, from the humble beginnings, what can I say? By the time Dan Povenmire finally got to actually sketch out the design fully, he looks pretty similar to the Phineas and Ferb we all know. And obviously he doesn't look too different even in the original sketch. But I just thought it was pretty funny knowing that he was drawn on restaurant tissue paper. I mean, that's totally something anybody could picture doing at a restaurant there. Come on. Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I know it looks like a kitty girl show, and it kinda is, but don't let the bright colors and girly protagonists fool you. This show gets fucking dark. It reminds me a bit of Gravity Falls and a little bit of Phineas and Ferb in a way. In a uniquely magical Adventure Time-ish kind of way. Reminds me of a mix of Gravity Falls and Adventure Time in a way, if the main character was Mabel that was aged up. So it makes sense that the concept art is going to look a little different. Star vs. the Forces of Evil is among one of the most unique Cartoon Network shows. It's among one of the most unique Disney Channel shows. And that's saying something, because again, this is Disney we're talking about. But honestly, it fits the best on here. It's also known for being one of the only few Disney shows created by a woman. Darren F.C., the creator of Star, makes it heavily known that she was inspired by other girly animes like Sailor Moon. And we can see a lot of that influence in the concept art for Star. Darren F.C. ended up tweeting during the 6-year anniversary of the original pilot, which is now also a decade old. Really enough, this show came out at the same time Phineas and Ferb ended. Weird to think, really. Star Wars is a renowned film series, one of the most popular of all time because of its abstract creativity, immersive storyline, the fact that it's been going on for literally decades. As you probably know, they were still executing people with the guillotine in France when the first movie came out. Not only that, but Charlie Chaplin was still alive, barely. So it's not too surprising that with a lot of the uniquely designed characters, not only were a lot of them going to look very different from the start, and trust me, a lot of them do, but some of them look unrecognizable. Like Darth Maul, for example. Now, just compared to all the other Star Wars characters and cast, Darth Maul is already a pretty intimidating looking guy. It shouldn't be too much of a surprise that his concept art looks creepy. That's putting it gently. This is the fucking result we got. According to George Lucas, he asked this man named Ian McKegg, who looks so warm and cuddly, man, to quote, draw your worst nightmare. And in his mind, a version of the worst nightmare was a lifeless face pressed up against a glass window at night. that's how he got this. I don't know why the red Freddy Rob dreads, but oh my god. George Lucas was understandably horrified and literally said, quote, in response to seeing this monstrosity, he told Ian McKellen, quote, alright, now draw me your second worst nightmare. Holy shit. It really goes to show how impressive drawing is as a skill to us humans. Would you ever think that a guy like this is capable of creating nightmare fuel like this? And a few other versions of Darth Maul aren't that good, not gonna lie either. Featuring some of them with him having fucking feathers for some reason. Thankfully, they decided to stop making him look like a joke or a drag queen and made him somewhat scary, although appropriate and friendly. I just like, this is who your girl says not to worry about, and this is you. That is fucking horrifying though. Imagine though, just for a second, if he did look like this.